Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Yeah, I know it's been a while between videos now. I took a large break and just came back for a contest entry. If you haven't seen that video, it's the last video uploaded. It's a Mr. Comics 89, I believe 400 subscriber contest that he's doing. It's my entry into that, where I get into my favorite Spider-Man villain and the villain who I think would or has given Spider-Man the biggest run for his money, who has the biggest chance of beating him. And I mentioned in that video that I had made two pretty big pickups, and I've since then gotten another one. And I wasn't really going to do a haul, but I figured, I've gotten three pretty big books that I've wanted for quite a while now. I figured why not make a video on it, and I saw Mr. Comics 89 uploaded another pretty big video of two issue 10 Amazing Spider-Man books, and I've actually recently, since new comics aren't coming out, I've had quite a bit of extra spare money that is just not going anywhere, and I don't need it for anything. So I figured, now would be a pretty good time with the market in somewhat of a recession. Don't get me wrong, books are still going for a lot, but a lot of books are actually dropping in price, and or they've just frozen in price. They're not going up or down. So I figured now, while books are constantly on the rise, it would be a good time to try to finish what my goal was of completing my first 20 of Amazing Spider-Man issues. Which at the time I was missing issue 1, 5, 10, 15, 18, and 19 out of the first 20. And I kind of have a standard. I'm okay with low grade, but preferably when I'm looking at books like that, depending on the price I can get them for, I'd like at least around a 2.5 to a 3.0 in terms of raw grade. But if I can get a super good price, I'll jump on it. Like my Amazing Spider-Man number 3, some of you will know if you've been on the channel for a while, or if you've seen my key collections or my Spider-Man collection videos. I bought that issue 3, the first appearance of Doc Ock, coverless, but I got it for $25 when I was a kid. So it all depends on price, but generally if I'm spending over $100, I'd like to get a decent low grade that at least presents somewhat well and is complete if possible. Now, one of these books is not complete, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm okay with some books being not complete as long as it's not story affecting. That's my thing, right? But the two things I want to be there, that I have to have there, is the cover. Whether it's detached or not, I just want it there, and again, depending on the price, and the story needs to be complete. There's no exceptions for that. The story has to be complete. No matter the price I get it at, the entire story has to be there. Which is the case with all three of these books. And I got them actually all at really good prices. Again, they are going to be lower grades, not like 1.0s or anything like that, but at least 2.0s. The roughest one I'll show first. But the first one actually isn't Spider-Man related, so just to whet your appetite a little bit for what I have coming up. It is still a key. It's actually a pretty big key that I've wanted for a long, long time now. It was just a matter of finding the book in a grade that I liked and found acceptable for a good price. And it was hard finding this book in a good condition for less than $100. So let me just show the book first, and then I'll get into what I paid for it. So up first, we have a Batman key. And it is Batman, issue number 189. Now this is the first Silver Age appearance of the Scarecrow. I think it's his like 4th overall appearance, I believe. I think he only made like 3 appearances in the Golden Age. I know he only had 1 cover appearance in the Golden Age, and I think he had 3 overall. But this is the first Silver Age. It's not in the best of shape, but I'd say it's at least a 2. A 2.5 max, but I'd say probably around a 2. Story's complete. The cover's attached. Nothing is detached. Nothing's missing. None of the ads are cut out. And So a little bit more about the book. This actually is a reprint of the first Silver Age, or the first appearance period of Scarecrow. The original Bob Kane artwork and everything reprinted in the Silver Age issue to kind of reintroduce people to the Scarecrow, I suppose, which is odd because they didn't do that for any of the other Batman villains that made the reemergence in the Silver Age. But really, really cool issue. I've personally loved the Scarecrow since I was a kid. Scarecrow has always been one of my favorites, and I've actively been looking for this book for quite a while, and it's not necessarily been out of reach, but it's been out of reach in terms of condition for what I was willing to pay for it, like I was talking about earlier. Now, like I said, this isn't the best grade, but it does present decently. It presents like, you know, a good low grade would, you would expect, but there's no massive major defects to it, no huge chips taken out of it. As I said, the cover is attached firmly at both staples and everything. The spine does have some quite a few color breaking creases, but I mean, that's what you'd kind of come to expect with a lower grade. Now, let me get into why I bought this. Aside, of course, from my want for it, this was bidding, and the bid was extremely low when I first started watching it. I believe when I first started watching it, it was at $25, and it had, I think, 3 days left, and I actually, no, it was like a day. I think it was either a day or less than a day, and I ended up buying it for $40. With shipping and everything, it was like $45, but I mean, for this book, I mean, in this grade, it's normally like $190 to $100 book at the cheapest, and being able to get that for less than half of that was incredible. So this was just a deal I couldn't pass up. Of course, like I said, my feelers have been out there for Spider-Man issues very heavily, but when a price like this comes up for a key Batman book that I've been looking for a while, because of course I am still looking for the books, I'm just less likely to buy them, but when this price came up for this awesome key issue, I couldn't pass adding that to my collection. I couldn't pass that up. So because of course for a while now I've been trying to get first appearances for Batman, and of course a lot of the Golden Ages, they're just out of reach, thousands of dollars. Like, I couldn't touch a Golden Age first, or a Golden Age appearance period of Scarecrow. They're over $1,000 each, easy, without a cover, just because they're so doggone rare. So I've been trying to complete first Silver Ages or first Moderns. Again, if you've seen my key issue comic collections, you've seen my Batman 251, my first Modern Age Joker, because he appeared heavily throughout the Golden and Silver Age. So outside of key Silver or key Golden Age books, the next best thing is Batman 251. Same thing with Batman 234 that I have, the first modern appearance of Two-Face, because he didn't even appear in the Silver Age. Of course, my first Silver Age Mr. Freeze, and it's also, if you're a Batman collector, look that up. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it's a Detective Comics issue from 1967, I believe, because Mr. Freeze, that's only, believe it or not, even though he first appeared in 1959 as Mr. Zero, he didn't appear again until 1967 due to his importance and popularity from the 60s TV show, and where he was named Mr. Freeze, which also in that issue, he was named Mr. Freeze, and you can actually get that book easy for less than $80 in a good mid to low grade. And I'll definitely look into getting that book as well, but I'm currently looking at another key book. I won't spoil it in case I do get it, and I want to make a video on it, but it's ending, I believe, in the next day or so. So you can possibly expect a video on that one as well. But for now, got this key book to kind of whet your appetites for the next two really big books that I got that are significantly more expensive. Two of the biggest books I bought with my own money, and actually one of which is the most I've ever spent myself on a comic book for my personal collection. So yeah, let's get into those now. Again, Batman 189, first Silver Age appearance of the Scarecrow. Now, These next two are going to be Amazing Spider-Man issues. The first one I will show is lower in number, but the one I will show after this is much more significant. They are both first appearances, one of which is a first appearance and a second appearance of a known villain as well. Now, the first book I'm about to show, I've been after not very heavily because I never really cared too much about it outside of completing the first 20. But, like I said, I'm trying to complete my first 20, and it was a good deal for the condition it's in, and I couldn't pass it up. So the book I am, of course, talking about is Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 10. Like I said, I've been after this book for, well, not too long heavily, but I've had it in the back of my mind for a long time. Of course, again, as part of my goal of completing the first 20, which almost there now, so that crosses 10 off my list, which completed a run that I had from issue 6 to 14, and then my run after that I have 16 and 17. So, you know, filled a pretty big gap in my collection that was much needed. And so this, of course, is the first appearance of the Enforcers, as well as the Big Man. So the Enforcers are comprised of the Ox, Montana, and Fancy Dan. Fancy Dan is the small guy in the middle there. One thing I wanted to say, if you've never read this, or any of these old Stan Lee Silver Age Spider-Man books, give them a read. No one knows Spider-Man or can write Spider-Man, in my opinion, like Stan Lee. So just want to throw that out there, because a lot of these I haven't read before. I wait until I get them in hand to read them. And it just blows me away just how good and how much content you really get. Because reading this thing, I mean, it'll take you like 20-30 minutes to get through this book. And it's no longer, page count-wise, than a modern book. It's just much denser. So just wanted to throw that out there. If you've never read Silver Age Spider-Man, Stan Lee Spider-Man in particular, give it a shot, man. It's a lot of fun to read them. But anyway, this, like I said, first appearance of Big Man and the Enforcers. And it also gives the reason why J. Jameson really hates Spider-Man. You know, just kind of a fun add-on there at the very end of the book. But the book itself is probably in a 4 shape. For this book, I paid, he had it at $200, but I asked him if I could get 10% off, which would take it down to $180. And he initially said it would be $180 plus tax cash, but he ended up taking $180 flat for it. So that was really awesome of him. And in this shape, I mean, the book will easily go for double that. However, I initially thought, because I made the initial inspection of just the front back cover, opening it up to the splash page and then the very back and the centerfold to make sure, because those are like the key areas you want to check for in a comic book, to make sure nothing's detached that's unexpected. But when I was flipping through the book to read it, like the 3rd page after the centerfold was an ad. Fortunately, it was just an ad page, both sides, ad page, and one side was a full page of a comic book coming out, and it was ripped out. It was still in the book, but it had been like crudely ripped out of the book and placed back in. The rip does line up, so the page hasn't been married, so fortunately we know that it's not restoration. And I called the guy up and he said apparently he bought an entire collection from this guy, and quite a few of his issues that he bought from him had this problem. And he said what he thinks was the guy would rip pages out of the books, of new books coming out, and take them to the shop with him to buy that book. And he said, unlike most people that would just throw that page away when they were done with it, this guy just put the page back in the book. So it is still complete, and I was looking into it, and apparently CGC won't deduct too much for grade, because we initially thought it was probably a 4 or 5, and a lot of the creases can be pressed out but it seems like CGC for detached pages, not centerfold, not cover, because a detached cover you can't get higher than a 3. It seems like they only knock off between half a point and a point, which is awesome in terms of, you know, sending the book off to get graded. Of course, you know, they'll make a note of it, and it doesn't get a green label because it is complete, so that's always good. But so we think it'll probably, if I did send it off to get graded, it'll probably be a 4, which, I mean, even then for 180, I'm still happy with the price. And the guy, he said he'd do something for me. You know, he just couldn't do much. So, you know, that was nice of him. And at the end of the day, I got to knock this big book out of my want list. And very happy to finally be able to add this. And as you can see, I don't know how it's, I mean, it looks like it's showing up well on camera. But, I mean, there's almost no damage to the book itself. Here, let me give you some close-ups so you're not just staring at the same shot. I mean, as you can see, it is really nice. You can see some creases there on the spine, but, I mean, everything is really, really nice. I don't know if you can see it, but it seems like right there on the book, and right, where was it? Here, someone had added 2 staples and then taken them out at some point, which, in case you're wondering about that, a lot of people think if you add staples and then take them out, it's considered restoration, but it's actually not. If you leave the staples in, CGC would actually count that as restoration. So if you have added staples on a book, don't be scared to take the staples out. Even if it would make the cover detached, take the staple out, unless you're not going to get it graded. But if you are going to get it graded, take the staples out. If you know for a fact that it was restoration and not a factory error, because if you take the staples out, it will actually not count towards restoration on that book. So, little fun fact from research I've done on that. But, I mean, the edges are all really clean. So, I mean, the book is in nice shape. So, can't be too mad with that. But that's my amazing number 10 that I've added. And very happy to add it. Like I said, it's a good read if you've never checked that out before, especially now we're not getting new comic books. Well, actually, new comic books are starting to come back out. But little fun read in case you're running out on stuff to read it in your own personal collection. Now, the next book, like I promised, is significantly bigger of a book. Now, of course, as I said, one of these books is missing something. And for the astute of you, you will notice that I have not said that either of the books I've shown so far are missing anything. That's because that missing thing is in this next book. Now, this next book, like I said, contains a first appearance period, and a first cameo. Again, early Amazing Spider-Man fills a hole in that 1 through 20 run. And this, for me, was the biggest first appearance. Actually, this was the biggest first appearance left that I needed from my collection. And I am very happy to add that. And the book that I'm talking about is, of course, Amazing Spider-Man number 15. Yep, that's right. The first appearance of Kraven the Hunter. And the second appearance of the Chameleon, who, of course, as you may know, was the first supervillain that Spider-Man ever faced from Amazing Spider-Man number 1. Now, Kraven the Hunter, I have had a lot of love for ever since I was a kid. And of course, you'll see that as a running theme, but that's just because I grew up collecting comic books, and I grew up loving the Silver Age in particular, and wanting these books in particular. I'm not even joking. Like, since I was 8 or 10, I've had my eye out for these really early Amazing Spider-Man books. Just because I've always loved that classic look to Spider-Man, and I grew up watching, you know, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the 90s show, and even the 60s animated show. So these classic supervillains mean a lot to me. I actually had a Kraven action figure when I was a kid, and I used to take him everywhere with me. And just always loved Kraven as a character, loved the idea of Kraven. Kind of that most dangerous game villain brought out to Spider-Man. Someone who can match Spider-Man in both strength and speed, reflexes, and agility, and it's really really cool. He's a really cool villain, and of course the chameleon being a secondary character, someone who can blend into anything and even make Spider-Man question his spider sense. So it's a really cool dual importance to this book. Now, this book, I would say, as I said, it is missing something, which I'll get into in a second. So it would be qualified if I sent it in. It would get a green label. But if I had to guess, I'd say it's probably a 3 to a 3.5. I wouldn't hope for higher than a 4, but I'd say probably a 3 to a 3.5. Probably a 3.5 is what I would lean towards conservatively. I think it might be able to go up to a 4 on a really, really good day for CGC, but I wouldn't even consider that if I were to send it in. I would expect no more than a 3 or a 3.5, which for the price I paid, I can't be mad with it. Now let me get you some close-ups real quick of this book, just so you know what I'm dealing with here. So the spine, for the most part, actually looks really clean. Of course, there's a few, especially right here around the staple, there's some creases there. But I mean, for the most part, outside of some small creases, it's actually really good, which is why I do think it's possible for it to get a 4. I think the biggest thing going against it would be that right there. The inside is clean, the back cover is clean. Everything is super clean, like I said. Nothing story affecting is missing. And outside of that one corner, no huge chips taken out of any of the pages or the back cover or anything like that. It's mainly just small creases. And if you can see, right here, there's a mark. I don't know what that is, but it goes all the way up into the title, which is weird. I have no idea what that is. And then right here, on Craven's hand, and over here, there's some discoloration from something. Again, no idea what it is. I don't know what these kids are doing with these books, but it still presents very well. And like I said, no serious defects to it. The cover is attached. Now, to get into what is missing. It's just an ad page. It's just an ad page. It's the 15th page. I know because I bought this graded. I cracked it out because the guy got it graded as a blue label, which, in case you don't know, a blue label for anything that is missing a page automatically gets a 0.5. Even if it looks like it's a 9.8, if it's missing a page, it gets a 0.5 automatically. It can't get any higher than that. So I think it's kind of stupid to send something in missing a page for Universal, but from what I'm hearing, if you send a book in missing a page and it's in a decent enough grade, they'll just give it a blue label 0.5. They won't give it a green label. I don't know why, but they do. But I do think if I sent this in as a green label, it could probably get a 3.5. On a good day, maybe a 4, but I'd say 3 to a 3.5. And again, I'm not a grading expert, and I think, in my opinion, when it gets down below a 3 or a 3.5, it gets a little hazy in terms of what is really something that would knock it down significantly, or what's the difference really between a 2 and a 3. And I think that part of that is on CGC. It's just kind of from person to person. Sometimes it's up to each person's interpretation of it. So that's why I'm saying 3.5. Some of you might disagree with me and say it wouldn't be higher than a 2. That's just my opinion. So if y'all think I'm wrong, please, feel free to let me know, but be nice about it. All I can go off of is my expertise from over a decade of collecting comics. That's all I can give you. Just my personal experience of what I've seen. But yeah, like I said, this is missing the 15th page. It's just an ad page, not story affecting. And it's a clean rip. It's, it's not like there's pieces of paper, just strips hanging from the centerfold. Everything's fine. Like I said, story's all there. I have no qualms with an ad page missing, especially for the price I got. Now, the guy had a buy it now of $300, but he had a best offer. Now, 300, in my opinion, is a little too high. Quite a bit too high, in my opinion, for what should be a qualified book that's missing an ad page. And I think that's probably why it had been sitting up on eBay for a while, because I'd been watching it for a while and nothing had happened to it. So I decided to offer the guy significantly lower than his asking price. I offered him $220. Yes, $80 off of his asking price. I wasn't expecting him to take it. That was just the most I was willing to pay at the time for the book. And he actually took it. He took the $220, which just blew my mind. So I ended up paying, I think it was around like $230 with tax and everything, shipping. But I couldn't turn that down for this book, especially considering how high it's been going lately. I mean, it had just been skyrocketing. Like I said, though, it's actually been going down a little bit lately. Not a lot, but enough to where it's back in the affordable range for me. And if the rumors are true about a Craven movie coming after Morbius, you can expect this thing to go to the moon. I don't know if anyone here had heard, but around the time the Morbius rumors were circling, if not a little bit before, so around like right after Venom came out, rumors were circling of both Craven and Morbius coming to theaters and being in production. And now, of course, we know we're having a Morbius movie coming out. So even though we haven't heard any rumors recently that I know of about Craven happening, if those rumors were true and they do still have maybe on their back burner the idea of a Craven film, this book is going to skyrocket. I mean, it's both early Amazing Spider-Man and a key first appearance of a major Spider-Man villain. One of the original Sinister Six, which he was the last one I needed. He was the last first appearance I needed for my Sinister Six first appearance collection, which just a small goal I had with myself. So like I said, I've been wanting this for years now. This was actually one of the first key books I was actually on the lookout for. My dad was actually looking for it for me when I was a kid, but they were just going for too high at the time, which, I mean, was like $100, because, I mean, like 10, 12 years ago, these early Spider-Man books weren't going for more than $100 or two. So they've at least quadrupled in price since then. A lot of the early Amazing Spider-Mans I've bought, I was looking up the other day, have actually doubled in price since I bought them a few years ago, which is nuts to think of. So that just helped me push even further that, okay, I need to get this now before it goes up any higher. Because if I'm not willing to pay the money now, I'm not going to be willing to pay twice that in a few years from now. So finally cracked down, got one. And as I was saying earlier, this completed my run from issue 6 all the way through issue 17. So now out of the first 20, I'm only missing issue 1, 5, and 18 and 19. 18 and 19 are relatively affordable. I can get them readily for less than $100. There's actually a copy of one of those ending today for quite a bit less than that. It's in terrible, terrible shape, but for the price I might be able to get it for, it might be worth it just to be able to knock that off my list. So you can possibly expect a video about that one coming in the future. But for now, I am only missing 4 issues from the first 20 and only 2 from the first 10 now. Of course, those 2 are massive. Given Amazing Spider-Man 1, I mean, that's always going to be expensive. And Amazing Spider-Man 5, with all the Doctor Doom hype floating around, that book is going to the moon at the moment, so that's kind of pretty out of reach at the moment. I'm not in the mood to spend $500+ for a decent 2 copy of a Amazing Spider-Man 5, especially given I've never really cared about that book that much. But for now, I'm content with the run I have, and can't wait to see what kind of deals I can strike up on eBay in the future. And just keep in mind, guys, if you see a book that is just a little bit out of your price range, even if they don't have a best offer option, send them a message. Especially if you know the book's been up there for a while. You never know. You never know what can happen. I mean, the worst they can say is no. So why not? Shoot an offer, see what kind of deals you can make happen, and yeah, for now, that is my haul. Again, for recap, I got Amazing Spider-Man 15, first Craven and second Chameleon. Amazing number 10, first appearance of the Enforcers and Big Man. And Batman issue 189, first Silver Age appearance of the Scarecrow. And that's how I'm going to end that out. Thank you all for watching. I know this was a longer video, but as normal, I have a lot to say. I have a lot of knowledge that I like to share. Not because I necessarily want to spread knowledge for the betterment of the comic community, although I would love that if in some small way I can do that, but with my audience size, I think most of the people watching my videos already maybe know what they're talking about. So at the very least, I like talking about my books. I really do. It's just my love for comics, because even though I recognize the value of comics, I just don't like making stupid financial choices. That's the only thing it comes down to. I'm in this for the love of the hobby, for the love of the comics, and I love talking about the hobby. I just do. I don't have many people in my life that really care to talk about comics. So this is one of the outlets I have to talk about that. So where you might see a half-hour video of just 3 books, boring, I see that as just being able to talk with you guys about comics. So hopefully y'all like that. Hopefully y'all can somewhat, sympathize with that, and maybe y'all are the same way. If you are, please let me know down in the comments, what brought you into the hobby, and what's your motivation behind the hobby? Is it because you resell the books, you love investing in comics, or do you just do it for the love of comics? Or maybe it's a mix of both. Or if you just buy new books, what do you find in the hobby? What interests you? But for now, that's going to leave it for me. You can maybe expect another haul video like this. Not this big. I'm good on big purchases for a while now. So I need to save my money, especially with new comic books starting to come out. I need to sort of allocate more funds to that. So this is probably going to be the only big haul you're going to see from me. Again, with these early Amazing Spider-Mans, I'm not going to have super often hauls on this, just because the only books I'm missing, I'm going to have to spend usually at least $100 or more on these books. So they're going to be slower coming in, and I just don't have that kind of revenue to be able to buy 12 books to show in one haul video. If I do, it's going to take me over a year to get those kinds of books together. Things just kind of lined up within the last month, and figured I'd share it with you. So thanks again very much for watching, guys, and I will hopefully catch you all in the next video. Take care and stay safe out there.